Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Raja Umar on my channel RU Speaks, and we are discussing geography of Pakistan. I mean the environment of Pakistan, IGCSE Pakistan Studies paper 2 these days. And as we have discussed certain topographical features of certain areas of Pakistan, like the northern mountains and then the western mountains, and then we talked about the Potwar Plateau and Balochistan Plateau in our yesterday's lesson. Today we are going to talk about the Indus Plains. So let's start. Here we have the location of Indus Plain, and you can see over here that the location of Indus Plain is beyond the Potwar Plateau down towards south and western region, and this whole area of Balochistan as well. This dotted line over here, and then from southern Punjab, excluding Cholistan Desert, Nara Desert and Thar Desert, the rest of Sindh province is also part of the Indus Plain. So here you can see that this whole region, I'm going to shade it, is Indus Plain. So first of all, the definition of Indus Plain, that the area which is irrigated by Indus, by river Indus and its tributaries. So if you just look in this map now, what you see, that whole of this identified region of Indus Plain is irrigated by river Indus and the tributaries of river Indus. How? If you just look, here comes Indus River, enters into the Indus Plain and flows southwards, then southwestwards, and then further southwards, and finally it falls into the Arabian Sea. And here comes river Jhelum. Then we have river Chenab over here. Then we have river Ravi over here. Then we have river Sutlej over here. So all these rivers, they all are irrigating these vast lands of Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Sindh and some lands of Balochistan. So this is the definition, and it is flat, undulating, southward slope, land, and it is formed because of the alluvium, I mean the fertile soil brought down by the rivers while flowing down, and that spreaded soil in these regions has made this soil really very fertile and very productive for growing all sorts of crops. So this shows the effectiveness of Indus Plain for Pakistan, and this region is considered to be the most productive region of Pakistan. Big cities are established over here, and agricultural lands are here, and the major settlements are here, and major industrialization is also here in this region. So it means that this area is making whole of Pakistan productive. The growth of agriculture, the growth of industry, the growth of human resource, and the growth of trade and activity in this region. Trade and tourism and other sorts of activities, they all are being carried out in this region, making this land really very effective and very, very productive for Pakistan. So, moving on to the further characteristics of this land on the next slide, and then I'll come back to this slide to explain those points over here. Topography of, so first let me talk about the classification or the categorization of this Indus Plain. You can see that in one region, if I talk about in the north of this dotted line, I am talking about this whole land of Punjab and some lands of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. This region is known as Upper Indus Plain, as it is in the north of the whole of the plain. And beyond the province of Punjab, down towards Sindh and Balochistan regions, this whole blue lined cordoned region is known as Lower Indus Plain. Right? So there are certain differences between the Upper Indus Plain and the Lower Indus Plain. And few of really very much visible over here even on the same map given. If you just look around, what you observe that in the Upper Indus Plain we find few rivers: I, J, C, R, B, S. B is somehow part of this Indus Plain, as I will explain that when we come to the Doabs of the land, then the river Beas comes into play. Then Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej. So these rivers, they irrigate whole of this area, making it Upper Indus Plain. But if we come down to the Lower Indus Plain here, you will find only river Indus here. So this is the first difference, that in Lower Indus Plain only river Indus flows and no other river is there. So it means that there is no Doab as well. But there are certain Doabs in the Upper Indus Plain. Again, I will explain this term as well. Okay. So topography of Upper Indus Plain and Lower Indus Plain: flatland, low hills, cuesta. Another very important term, and at times we have seen that this term is asked in the paper, that what is cuesta. So cuesta is the land feature in Lower Indus Plain. The land is like whenever there is sharp slope on the one side and gradual slope on the other side of the land, this region is known as cuesta. Right? So in Pakistan there are two cuestas. One is over here in Sindh province, famous town Rohri, Rohri, Rohri Cuesta, and the other one is down over here in Hyderabad, very close to Hyderabad, that is known as Ganju Takkar Cuesta, Ganjutakar, Ganju Takkar Cuesta. Limestone ridges is the main characteristics. Limestone ridges, I mean the area formed over here that is made up of limestone. There are certain limestone ridges over here, so that makes the a different sort of land characteristics over there, and this is over there in the lower Indus Plain. Both are over here. I mean, Rodi Cuesta and Ganju Tucker Cuesta both are in the lower Indus Plain. I mean, in the province of Sindh. So this is the characteristics. I have explained that what is meant by the term cuesta, and you may be asked in the exam that what is cuesta and why it is called cuesta and what are the characteristics of that land. So you are supposed to give the definition of the cuesta. For example, that sharp slope on one side and the gradual slope on the other. This is the definition of cuesta in any of the region, and the limestone ridges are over there in those cuestas, and the names are Rodi Cuesta and Ganju Tucker Cuesta in Sindh province. So definition and the composition and the names, right? Definition, sharp slope on one side and the gradual on the other. Composition, composed of limestone ridges, and the names Ganju Tucker and Rodi Cuestas. So this is how about the land feature over here, and that this is part of the you can say it's one of the classification of Indus Plain. Then active flood plain and old flood plain. Bait or khadar. In the local languages, they are known as Bait or khadar. Bait means active flood plain, and khadar means old flood plain. So what is that? So when we will discuss the Doabs, then there will come the factor. I mean, if I explain over here that what is meant by Doab, the land between two rivers, that is known as Doab, and it is a sort of local language word. Do I means two, ab means water, Doab, do pani. So the land between two waters. If I suppose these are the two rivers and this is the land between these two, so this whole land is a Doab. Right? Now what is in that Doab? Doab has certain further land features. Again, if I say if this is the Doab, one river is over here and the other river is over here, then about 200 meters area from the river and 200 meters from this river, these regions are known as active floodplains, and this one is of this river, active flood plain. This area, I mean 200 meters of width from the river, is flooded every year during summers, whenever there is the stronger monsoon rainfalls and whenever because of the more river discharge because of the melting of snow on the glaciers. So this, I mean, the actual route of river is like this, and this region is active floodplain on the river side, which is flooded every year during summers. In the same way, the actual route of river is like this, but 200 meters width of area alongside the river is flooded every year of this river. That is known as the active floodplain of this river, and this active floodplain is of this river. then that is also known as, in the local language, that is known as BATE, the active floodplain, right? And about 2 kilometers area from the main river stream, let me change the color so that to make the things more identified for you. If this is Doab, and 200 meters of area from the main river stream, if I say this much and this much of this river, so this area is known as old flood plain, and this is the old flood plain of this river. Old flood plain, that the area which is flooded after few years, not every year, but it is flooded after few years. And again, this is really very fertile region, as somehow in some year the water might have reached in this area and spreaded the alluvium over there to make this soil really very fertile. So active flood, old floodplain and old floodplain of this river, so they are known as Khadar in local languages. BATE and Khadar. BATE means active floodplain, Khadar means old floodplain. And then there comes scarp, a bit height, that is formed because of the erosion. And then there comes a bit higher flat region, and that height can be of about 16 meters from the river level, and that is known as bar upland, or it is known as alluvial terrace. Alluvial terrace. So that is the classification of Doab, and you can see there are certain Doabs in Punjab province, as there are more rivers flowing. So whenever there are more rivers, the land between those rivers, that is known as a Doab. So if you see the Doab between river Indus and river Jhelum is known as Sindh Sagar Doab. As we call river Indus in Urdu Darya Sindh, so it is related to that one, as this Doab is made with Darya Sindh or river Indus, right? So Sindh Sagar Doab is between river Jhelum and river Indus. So keep in mind that Potwar Plateau we studied yesterday is also between river Indus and river Jhelum in this region, but it is not part of Sindh Sagar Doab, because the Doab is the characteristic of a plain area, not of plateau. Potwar is a plateau. So it means that we are not supposed to call Potwar Plateau as part of Sindh Sagar Doab. Sindh Sagar Doab is only in the areas beyond the salt range, beyond Kalar Kahar region, on the other side of salt range, where the Jhelum plains are formed, from where you can say the Sindh Sagar Doab starts. So Sindh Sagar Doab between river Indus and river Jhelum, and next one, that is between river Chenab and river Jhelum, that is known as Chaj, Chaj Doab. And it is very easy to understand and to learn and to memorize that between which two rivers this particular Doab is. Cha for Chenab and J for Jhelum. So between river Chenab and river Jhelum, there is Chaj Doab. So you can see over here, Chaj Doab mentioned over there. So it's easy to learn. CHA for Chenab and J for Jhelum, making Chaj Doab between river Chenab and river Jhelum. Now the next one, river Chenab and river Ravi. This whole region is also a Doab with the name Rachna, Rachna Doab. Again, very much easier to understand that between which two rivers this particular Doab is. Ra for Ravi, Chna for Chenab. So between river Ravi and river Chenab, we have Rachna Doab, and you can see over here that between river Chenab and between river Ravi, we have this one, the Rachna Doab. First, let me explain the names of the Doabs, then I will talk about the bar uplands and the alluvial terraces of the same region. Then there comes another one that is known as Bari Doab. The last one. So as we have about 5 rivers over there, so between those 5 rivers there are 4 Doabs. Bari Doab. So here comes the Beas River. River Beas and river Ravi. Right? Look, here is river Ravi flowing. But this one is river Sutlej. But in Indian territory, river Beas flows like this and making the Doab between Ravi and Beas, this region. In actual sense, geographically, Beas is in the north of river Sutlej, so river Beas comes into play to make that Doab with river Ravi, as Beas is closer to Ravi, so Beas is making that Doab, not river Sutlej. So for this reason, we call it Bari Doab, BA for Beas and RI for Ravi. So the names of the rivers, they are making the name of the Doab. Now talking about the bar uplands. As I was explaining, the central part of the Doab. Here we have one river flowing. Here we have the other river flowing. And active floodplain from this red to blue line. Then old floodplain between this yellow and red line. In the same way, the same situation is over here. From this blue to red line is the active floodplain. From red to yellow, it is old floodplain. And then there comes scarp, SCARP, a bit slope higher, making the whole of the terrace higher. So this one is the alluvial terrace, and it is common of both rivers, this one and this one, right? So now talking about the alluvial terrace of these Doabs. For Sindh-Sagar Doab, there is no alluvial terrace mentioned everywhere, but for the other Doabs, certain bar uplands, I mean the alluvial terraces names are given. Over here, for Chaj Doab, I mean the Doab between river Chenab and river Jhelum, the bar upland is known as Kirana Bar. You can see the name mentioned over here, Kirana Bar. I mean that bar upland is known as Kirana Bar. Right? And For Rachna Doab, between Ravi and Chenab, the bar upland is known as Sandal bar. And for Bari Doab, here comes the role of river Sutlej as well. For Bari Doab, there are two bars. One, you can say, between Beas and Ravi, and the other one is between Ravi and Sutlej in Pakistani region. Okay, now between Beas and Ravi, as I told you, here we have river Ravi, here we have river Sutlej, here we have river Beas, and this region is considered as the Doab between Ravi and Beas. That's why the bar upland is known as Ganji bar, Ganji, Ganji bar, and purely between river Ravi and river Sutlej is known as Neeli bar. Mentioned over here Ganji bar, mentioned over here Sandal bar, mentioned over here Kirana bar. So these are the bar uplands, I mean the characteristics of the Doab in this region. Now, I have given a greater detail of the characteristics of the upper Indus Plain very specially, but in lower Indus Plain there is no Doab, as there is no other river except river Indus, so you will not be able to find any Doab over there in that region. Okay, now here we are, Doabs, Sindh Sagar Doab, Chaj Doab, Rachna Doab and Bari Doab. Bar uplands or alluvial terraces are there, explained. What I was telling you, the Kirana bar, Sandal bar and Ganji bar and Neeli bar, they all are bar uplands, or they all are known as alluvial terraces, as they are higher, about 16 meters from the river level. So that's why they are known as terraces, the higher lands. Rolling sand dunes in Thar Desert, or even in the Cholistan region, or even Thar Desert. Alluvial fans, Piedmont Plains, explained yesterday, whenever the water divides into so many branches over here in the plain areas and it makes a sort of Chinese fan shape, this region is known as alluvial fan, and the plain areas which is beyond that alluvial fan is known as Piedmont Plain. Drainage of upper Indus Plain and lower Indus Plain. Already explained, Indus has many tributaries. Yes, not only these but many others from the western side as well. Indus has 4 eastern tributaries. They are the large ones, mainly Indus itself. Still, Indus is the big river. Indus has many western tributaries as well. River Swat, River Kabul, River Kuram, River Tochi, River Gomal, River Job. So all these are the western tributaries of River Indus. We studied these rivers yesterday. More water contributed by tributaries in upper Indus Plain, as there are the bigger rivers. Oxbow lakes are made, meandering is there, I mean the zigzag movement of the river is over there, and the cut-off lakes, because of these meandering, they are known as the oxbow lakes. And braided channels, I mean river coming down, divides into 2 branches and further joins and then divides into 2 branches or 3 branches divide. So this is just like a braid of hair of young girls, we see them, that is known as the braiding. So braided channels are over there in the lower Indus Plain much. So Indus Delta in the lower Indus Plain, when the river Indus divides into many distributaries before falling into the Arabian Sea, close to Badin and Thatta districts, that is known as the Indus Delta region. I mean, when river Indus gets closer to Arabian Sea and closer to the sea level, the sedimentation increases and river divides into so many distributaries like this, and this branched river over there, making it a marshland and swampy area. This whole region is known as Indus Delta. So that is in the lower Indus Plain. So less width is in the upper Indus Plain of river Indus, 1.4 kilometers, but after getting the waters of from the other rivers, the tributaries of Indus, the Indus width increases to 1.6. In the upper Indus Plain, river Indus width is 1.4 kilometers. In the lower Indus Plain, the width of Indus River is 1.6 kilometers wide. More width 1.6 in lower Indus. Upper Indus less, lower Indus more, because more water is there of all other rivers. So Doabs, here we have the same Doabs over here already explained. Now you can see Sindh-Sagar Doab between river Jhelum and river Indus, and then Chaj Doab is between Chenab and Jhelum, and Rachna Doab is between Ravi and Chenab, and Bari Doab is between river Beas and Ravi. Okay, then comparison and contrast. Many of the contrast and comparisons I have told you about the upper Indus Plain and the lower Indus Plain, that in the lower Indus Plain only one river, in the upper Indus Plain more rivers. Doabs are in the upper Indus Plain, no Doabs in the lower Indus Plain, right? And the in the upper Indus Plain, the rivers flow southwestwards, but in the lower Indus Plain, Indus River flows straight southwards. More sedimentation in the lower Indus Plain, less sedimentation is in the upper Indus Plain. So more fertile soils are up there in the upper Indus Plain, less fertility is down in the lower Indus Plain. So these are the some of the comparison points related to upper Indus Plain and lower Indus Plain. So if I talk about the economy and lifestyle of the people in this area, so already told that this region is really very productive. Going back to the first map over here, this whole of the region is really very productive, as it is producing sufficient agricultural products, sufficient raw material for the agro-based industry like cotton textile industry. Cotton crop is being grown over here, sugarcane for sugar industry, and rice is being grown over there, and wheat crop, the major food item of the people of Pakistan. You can say that whole of this Indus Plain is feeding up whole of Pakistan because of growing wheat crop. And then oil seeds are grown over here to be used in the cooking oil industry, and the pulses and many other agricultural products, they are being grown over here in whole of this region, making this land really very effective, very productive for Pakistan. And in the same way, as I told you, that over here right in the center of Punjab, the Faisalabad region, the textile industry is really very much developed. In the same way, Lahore region is really quite industrialized and a great trading center. And down in Sindh, we see that Hyderabad and Karachi regions, they are the great trading centers of Pakistan. So industrialization is over here in this region because sufficient raw material is available for the agro-based industry and sufficient labor availability. The infrastructure is quite developed. Road and railway networks are really good. The electricity and other resources supply is quite good in this region. So they all are the plus points for the sake of development of industry in that region. And in the same way, now because of the investments, the people are spending more and more money in growing crops as well in this area. Mechanization is there. High yield variety seeds are being used over here, and this area is producing huge agricultural production. And that is not only meeting the requirements of the huge population of Pakistan, but also at times Pakistan is able to export the agricultural products like sugar. So this is all about the Indus Plains, and very much hopeful that you might have learned the location, the topographical features, the drainage patterns, Doabs, and the comparison between upper Indus Plain and lower Indus Plain, along with the lifestyle and economy of the people living in this area. I have explained them orally without having any slide, but as I have explained that as this area has really very good lands, for soil fertile, is there water availability because of the rivers, dams, barrages are there, canal system is there, and sufficient human resource in the form of labor is available over there in this region. So all factors, they become positive, making this land really very productive for Pakistan. So this was our today's lesson. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to subscribe, like, watch, share, and comment on the video. Do suggest if you believe that I should be making certain improvements, enhancements in my lectures. I would really appreciate your comments. Do comment on the videos so that I can be able to make these lessons really very effective for all of you, for all my students. Thank you so much.